What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Rewind. I'm your host, Nick Major, and joining me today is my childhood friend, Mr. Bryce Thomas. How you doing today?
I'm good, man.
That is what I like to hear. Hope you're all doing good as well, but before we get started with today's movie discussion, I want to make you aware of two things. First off, if you subscribe to this channel, give the video a like and a comment below, you will be entered to win a free $15 Fandango gift card that you can use towards any movie that you want to see, whether it's a movie in theaters now, a movie that comes out later, this movie, anything. Easy enough. And also I want to talk to you about the app Stardust. So check this out. Stardust, it is a movie review reaction app. You make an account on it. It's a social media just completely devoted to anybody and everyone who loves movies and TV shows. All that you do see, if I go to my profile right over here, you'll see it's just full of different movies and shows that I've seen this year and that I have reviewed. You just hold the phone out in front of you. I like this movie because of this, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody else gets to check out your stuff. So sign up for that app. And at the end of these episodes from now on, I'm going to be playing some of your reactions. So be sure to tweet out to us at Watch the Rewind with your reaction. And you might see it at the end of one of the episodes of The Rewind. But for now, it is time to talk about the highly anticipated film, It. It follows a group of young preteens in Derry, Maine, a fictionalized town, as they endure the murderous horrors of a terrifying clown named Pennywise who preys on unsuspecting young victims. It begins with the death of a young boy, and what follows is a coming-of-age story as the group of bullied teens team up to take down the monster in a bloody, terrifying journey. We saw the new movie. I loved the original ones. You loved the book as well as the original one. What did you think of the 2017 version of It?
It exceeded my expectations, and I tried to go into it with kind of an open mind, which I know is very hard, especially for Stephen King fans. The adaptations don't really hold up to the novels all too well. This was actually done very, very well in my opinion, because not only did they try an adaptation from It, they also brought in other kind of aspects from other Stephen King's works.
It's like little Easter eggs are split throughout the movie. So fans of Stephen King will probably really appreciate the fact that throughout this, there's little, whether it's items or vocal references to some of his old books and stories and stuff, which not everyone would pick up on, obviously, but a fan of Stephen King would. A lot of people are going to compare this to the original one that came out back in 1990, which was actually before we were born. Because we're both 91, right?
91.
So we get a new version of it now.
Yeah.
Compared to that one, what do you think right off the bat?
Comparable in some ways. I do think it's kind of a standalone in itself. They did take a new direction in this one where in the original series, the 1990 miniseries, they had kind of like flash forwards and flashback kind of element going on.
Yeah, and by that you mean, by the way, so it would show the characters as adults, and it'll go back to them as children. Which, in this one, if you read any of the reviews leading up to it, you know that this one is going to be just based of them as children. And it was. How did you feel about that? Because I really liked in the original one that it went from adult to childhood. I thought it was great for character development, but I also know it's something that got mixed reviews from people. Do you think it's better leaving it part one to just children, or did you like when it's swapped between the two?
I think I would have to see the second chapter if they plan on doing it.
Which it has been greenlit.
It has been greenlit.
I'm suggesting they wait 27 years to put this out, kind of like Boyhood. You know how they film that over increments? They bring the actual cast back. That would be an authentic sequel.
Yeah, but is the whole cast going to be there in 27 years?
The CGI by then will be incredible.
That's true. They, they did it in Terminator, the final one, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hell, they had Tupac at Coachella.
Yeah. I did like that it was focused on the kids, more so that it's terrifying. I think as an adult now, I can still look back when I was a child and see the things that scared me and kind of how I confronted those. And you have these kids who they're young and they are going up against an entity that they don't know what he is capable of.
And I guess when you only see them as kids too, not those flashback and forwards, you don't necessarily know who's going to survive. You don't know what's going to happen to them. So when you're thrown into them just as kids, you're thrown into it just as blindly as they are from this one. Whereas in the original one, you knew, they've been through this before. This is something they've experienced. But this kind of brought a whole new terror of everyone in the theater, and the characters are experiencing this for the first time together.
Yeah, and especially for someone who might have not seen the miniseries or read the book, it does create an element, because if you do watch the miniseries, you see with the first VHS tape, and I was old, you see the characters when they're older. So you know that, they've survived and they kind of overcame with this version.
And I want to point out, though, you don't necessarily know just because...
You don't, yeah.
But so maybe, I don't want to say they do or don't, but for all you know, some of the kids die along the way.
Yeah, you don't know this time. Yeah, you don't know this time. This is a whole...
And they really did change some things.
Yes, they did.
From start to beginning, some different character developments. Was there anything particular that you didn't like about the newest rendition of it?
It came off, for me, I do like the characters. They are well developed in this remake. But there were a lot of elements where it felt like there was no beats in between the scare factor. And I know for some people that can be kind of too much or too overwhelming. This film, they did a pretty good job with some of the scenes, especially with Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård, and it was pretty frightening.
And I know another popular question that everyone is going to be asking is about Pennywise. Mm-hmm. Because the original Pennywise, Tim Curry, it was like an iconic, terrifying character. Yeah. The clown between this one and the old one physically looks so different. I feel like Tim Curry's character was a much more normal, everyday, inviting type of clown. The new one is just terror from when you first see him, I think. How do you think that they compare? What did you think, more importantly, of Pennywise in the 2017 adaptation?
So this is the same argument that came up, with the Joker kind of debacle that was going on.
Yeah, when Jared Leto was going to take over from Heath Ledger.
So I know people were having issues with that, where they're like, how do you compete with that? Like, Heath Ledger set a bar. How are you going to go beyond that, or how are you going to redefine the character? For this remake, Bill Skarsgård is frightening. I don't know. You've watched Hemlock Grove. Mm-hmm. He's a phenomenal actor. And there's something just with his face and just his mannerisms and the way he moves his body that comes off freaky.
That's one thing that was very new, was the movement of Pennywise in this.
He's very mobile.
It's almost like something from like The Grudge.
Yeah.
Like, those scary, kind of quick, jumpy movements that you see. He has a few of those moments
kind
where
of like
it's
an
just
Exorcist,
scary.
where it's,
And talking about the cast, when you get all these children together, I think it's the chemistry that they're able to form that really makes it a believable
story. It was really
story.
fluid in this, too.
And it was very believable.
Yeah.
And there was an up-and-coming cast. What is it, Finn Wolfhard? Mm-hmm. He's... Oh, one sec, my dog's walking in. Come here. Everybody knows Finn from Stranger Things. That's where his big moment happened last year. And I think it's interesting to see that he's playing 2 horror-themed 80s-based movies. But there's a few other up-and-coming kids in this as well. I know that Owen Teague, he's in the Netflix show Bloodline. So it was fun to see some of them come together. What did you think of the cast in this?
There were a little things that I wish I could have seen more of, and I don't want to do any spoilers because I know there's no spoilers on the show. But some of the dialogue seemed a little more top-heavy to certain characters.
I will say Finn,
he has
talking about him, he does talk a lot, which is good. But that's his character. His little character is he talks all the time. They even joke about him. And I guess it bugged me while watching it because all of his lines would be these immature, like, I had sex with your mom jokes, like penis jokes, swearing. And while that bugged me watching it, at the same time I was like, well, at 13, I guess that's how you're kind of talking and stuff.
We get the same thing when we're...
Yeah, it was horrible. Like, we all spoke horribly. So watching that, why I was at first like, really? Why does he keep saying that? I guess it's because that's how 13-year-old boys talk.
Yeah, and... it did help kind of set the relationship with Eddie, too, because, Richie... and Eddie, they do have a very close relationship, and it's kind of a
very contrasting
joke
as well.
Yeah, it's very contrasting. So they help each other out, and it really reflects later on, just with how they're able to deal with things is, having that relationship.
Visually, I think the movie was great.
It was fantastic.
The special effects were top notch.
It was ridiculous.
For the millionth time, I'll keep saying I'm not trying to compare to the original, but when you go back and watch the original one, while the story holds up and everything, and it's still scary and suspenseful, it's the special effects that really reminds you, oh, this thing was made in the late 80s, came out in 1990. Mm-hmm. Whereas in this one, it's top notch. It looked phenomenal, from that creepy house to the CGI. What I particularly liked was Pennywise when his mouth opens up and you see those spiky teeth. That was one thing in the original that always looked so kind of silly to me. But it just looks a little cheesy. But in this one, it helps the scare factor come up so much more. The music behind it was great too. The music drove the horror just as much, if not more, than the actual visuals in some scenes. I noticed people were flinching a lot. People were hiding their heads a lot.
I flinched a lot. And I don't really do that. And it was good because they'd set up, just like a horror film. They did it tastefully. They did it very well. And the reactions from the audience, You can tell it was.
That's the payoff. That's
Yeah,
when you
that's
know it
the
works.
payoff.
I think some of the scariest moments were what we spoke about earlier was Pennywise's movements. But the scariest moment, the scariest moment, was when there was like 30 minutes left in the movie. You point to this guy, you're like, look at that guy. And in like 3 rows in front of us, there's a dude that has pulled a veil over his head. I don't know what he was wearing, but it was like a veil that you'd see like a dead bride wearing.
Yeah,
and we could see his silhouette of his head through it. And he looked like a dead ghost.
He looked like a ghost, and he was sitting behind, and he didn't come in like that. So that's the thing. Like this guy did not come in like that. So sometime during the film, he decided to put this sheet.
And it was
over
the
his
scariest
head.
looking
And
thing.
it was.
You look up and you see
freaky.
this clown all of a sudden, you're like, oh!
Yeah.
You're like, oh, Jesus!
Even Jack was scared. He's not even dead.
I was expecting it just to blow away in the wind and disappear when the movie was done.
That would have set just a nail in the coffin on that. But it was so random. I didn't get it, but it was.
It was a good addition. It was hilarious.
a good addition.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing after you showed it to me. But back to it though. Director Andy Muschietti, he has an upcoming project with Stephen King's son. So obviously some sort of relationship has formed there. So what does he have coming up next? And also, like I said, what did you just think as a whole of being a Stephen King fan of the new It movie?
Yeah.
What oh, bye, dog.
So yeah, he's working with Joe Hill, who is Stephen and Tabitha King's son, and he wrote Lock and Key, which Muschietti is taking over as the director to do something with that. So I'm very interested to see, if you look back at Muschietti's history, he had done Mama.
So, and speaking of Mama, so visually, he knows how to make a horror movie look beautiful. So is that kind of the similar thing to Lock and Key?
Yeah, it's gonna be at least what I hope. Yeah. So with the scenes, I'm very interested to see what having seen Mama, now seeing It, what Lock and Key is gonna kind of be. And now for It as a whole, it did justice. It's very hard. I think a lot of people are very take a critic side to this. It is a big book. It is one of the lengthy books, and it stands up there with, if you combine the Dark Tower series and The Stand, now you have It. It's very hard to turn that book into a screenplay, but they did it well.
So a sequel to the new It will be very welcomed because they did this one right. So
I'm interested to see that. I don't know how they're gonna go about it.
But it was a good movie. It was
Yeah.
scary from start to finish. It looks beautiful. It was scary. The cast was great in it. The kids, they played off so well with each other. I like the whole kid thing. I think they killed it with Stranger Things. I think they did it good with this. Not that it has anything to do with the same filmmakers, but it's just a fun group of people to see together because it's so relatable. Everybody was kids with friends at a time, and they pulled it off with It. So everyone will be happy. Whether it's first time people, fans of the book will likely enjoy it.
Yeah, fans will always have stuff to say, but I think they will like this. They will like it.
Well, good. That's what I like to hear. So everybody, be sure to check out It. It is in theaters now. Every time we say It, I just keep thinking about it. So check out It now if you like good horror scary movies. The thing looks beautiful. It sounds great. It was an awesome story. And don't forget to subscribe to The Rewind on YouTube. Give the video a like and a comment below. You'll be entered to win a $15 Fandango gift card that you can use to go see It, or you can see any other movie out there that you'd like. And the other thing I want to make sure that you know is, once again, Stardust, which is the app that you can review movies and TV shows on. At the end of every episode from now on, I'm going to start including people's reactions from movies and TV shows that they've seen. Here's my profile with recent movies. I haven't done It yet, but I will soon. So be sure to download that. Thank you all so much for watching The Rewind. I'm once again Nick Major, my good old friend Bryce Thomas joining me today. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. We'll see you next time on The Rewind.